Happy 4th of July, everyone. And 4th of July used to mean something different in my soul. Constance and I were both born in 1948. And for most of our childhood, or for 10 years of our childhood anyway, we grew up in the same town together. And I moved to Columbus, Nebraska when I was 7 years old. And I moved from a very hip and cool Long Beach, California. In 1948, I was born, and it was just at the beginning of rock and roll, and television was being born, and the television shows going on in Los Angeles, and it was a very exciting, cool, cutting age of the era, time to be growing up by the beach in California. And then I was uprooted and rudely transplanted to Columbus, Nebraska. Nebraska itself, just culturally, the Midwest, Kansas, Nebraska, Dakotas, was about 50 years behind the time anyway. It was real life cowboy days, literally. In many areas. Lots of electricity hadn't even come to that neck of the woods. Some places till after the war, after World War II. Not only that, if that culture shock wasn't enough for little Lonnie, Columbus was celebrating its centennial. So most of the men in town had grown beards and were wearing 19th century, mid-19th century clothes, and the women were wearing those bonnets, and it was like a Twilight Zone episode, you know, the one where they go to the planet where everybody's polite. You coming for a festival? Hey, you know. But it was also paradisially American, Midwest American, mid-19th century American, with a bandstand in a beautiful, huge square park. Every building civic building was 100 years old almost already. The town had money, and so it was very pleasant, or it could have been. It was such a contrast of me being so incredibly unhappy and put in a time machine to go back there. And the 4th of Julys that I remember, with the stars and stripes bunting on all of the buildings, and the church picnics, and the potato salad, and it was just it was absolutely gorgeous. There wasn't even a hint of nationalistic fervor. World War II had just concluded just a few years earlier, and people didn't want to talk about going to war. People didn't want to think about the nightmare that they'd just gone through. They wanted peace. The scene had everything that town Willoughby had in the Twilight Zone episode. It had everything except those bicycles with a huge wheel on the front going through town with men in straw hats and a barbershop quartet. And it had all of that. It was River City, Iowa, the Music Man. That's the 4th of July to me. I don't recognize the 4th of July anymore. Fireworks used to be things that kids did at night, fountains and Roman candles and a few sparkly things. Now it's freaking bombs at night over and over again, torturing every animal in town. It's grown-up, drunk grown-ups blowing things up at night. But am I bitter? I'm pining for a lost time that at the time never was too. So let's talk about liberty. This is one of my favorite books. You know, I don't have a single Crowley first edition. I don't have a single book with Crowley's signature on it or anything else. But I was lucky enough to know Israel Regardie. And this is from his own library, and he signed it to me. There's his bookmark. Back in 1978, he donated this to me. There's my stamp on it, my OTO stamp. Anyway, there is a book, a LIBER 130. There it is. LIBER Null. And if you spell that backwards, it's LIBER Lon, a sandal strap. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I am going to read as far as what it talks about liberty. Now, Crowley writes this as Tu Megatherion. And Tu Megatherion, Crowley writes as several entities, magical entities. Sometimes he writes as Perdurabo, sometimes he writes as VVVVV, sometimes he writes from the position of the Master Therion. Okay. On a Tree of Life, I keep bringing out Maria Randall's hand-sewn bag that she gave me 30 years ago or something. Okay. Ipsissimus. I'm not sure what Crowley thought his Ipsissimus name was, or even if he talked about being Ipsissimus too much. But over here in number 2, that's where Tu Megatherion is. That's where the logos of the Aeon, everybody's Aeon, everybody's logos of the Aeon is coming from a level of consciousness right up there. VVVVV over here is a little different one. That's Master of the Temple. Just remember that. Magus, Master of the Temple. And then there is down here would be from the position of his 5=6, Christias Peripsal, and then various other mottos and names. But in this particular case, he is telling us that he's writing as do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. In righteousness of heart I come hither and listen, for it is I, Tu Megatherion, who gave this law unto every one that holdeth himself holy. It is I, not another, that willeth your whole freedom, and the arising within you of full knowledge and power. People always get it mixed up. Is Crowley so egotistical that he's saying that only he can give you this word? No. It's only Tu Megatherion. It's not a Crowley that's giving you the law. It's a Tu Megatherion that's giving you this law. But I digress. Behold, The kingdom of God is within you, even as the sun standeth eternal in the heavens, equal at midnight and at noon. He riseth not, he setteth not, but is but the shadow. It is but the shadow of earth which conceals him, or the clouds upon her face. Let me then declare unto you this mystery of the law, as it hath been made known to me in divers places, upon the mountains, and in the deserts, but also in the great cities, which thing I speak for your comfort and good courage. And so be it unto all of you. Know first that from the law springs 4 rays, or emanations, so that if the law be the center of your own being, they must needs fill you with their secret goodness. And these 4 are light, life, love, and liberty. By light shall ye look upon yourselves and behold all things that are in truth one. One thing only, whose name hath been called No Thing, for a cause which later shall be declared unto you. But the substance of light is life, since without existence and energy it were not. By life, therefore, you are made yourselves eternal and incorruptible, flaming forth as suns, self-centered and self-supported, each the sole center of the universe. Now as by light ye beheld, by love ye feel. There is an ecstasy of pure knowledge and another of pure love. And this love is the force that uniteth things diverse. For the contemplation in light of their oneness, know that the universe is not at rest, but in extreme motion, whose sum is rest. And this understanding that stability is change and change is stability, that being is becoming and becoming is being, is the key to the golden palace of this law. Lastly, by liberty is the power to direct your course according to your will. For the extent of the universe is without bounds, and ye are free to make your pleasure as ye will, seeing that the diversity of being is infinite also. For this also is the joy of the law, that no 2 stars are alike. And ye must understand also that this multiplicity is itself unity, and without unity it could not be. And this is an hard saying against reason. Ye shall comprehend when rising above reason, which is but a manipulation of the mind. Ye come to pure knowledge by direct perception of the truth. Know also that these 4 emanations of the law flame forth upon all paths. Ye shall use them not only in these highways of the universe whereof I have written, but in every bypath of your daily life. Love is the law, love under will. And then he goes on to address each of these by name. And this morning, in honor of the 4th of July, we'll read liberty. 1. Liberty. It is of liberty that I would first write unto thee. For except ye be free to act, ye cannot act. Yet all 4 gifts of the law must in some degree be exercised, seeing that these 4 are one. But for the aspirant that cometh unto the master, the first need is freedom. The great bond of all bonds is ignorance. How shall a man be free to act if he knows not his own purpose? You must therefore first of all discover which star of all the stars you are, your relation to the other stars about you, and your relation to and identity with the whole. In our holy books are given sundry means of making this discovery, and each must make it for himself, attaining absolute conviction by direct experience, not merely reasoning and calculating what is probable. And to each will come the knowledge of his finite will, whereby one is a poet, one a prophet, one a worker in steel, another in jade. But to also each be the knowledge of his infinite will, his destiny to perform the great work, the realization of his true self. Of this will, let me therefore speak clearly unto all, since it pertaineth to all. Understand now that in yourselves, is a certain discontent. Yeah. Analyze well its nature. At the end is, in every case, one conclusion. The ill springs from the belief in two things, the self and the not self, and the conflict between them. This also is a restriction of the will. He who is sick is in conflict with his own body. He who is poor is at odds with society, and so for the rest. Ultimately, therefore, the problem is how to destroy this perception of duality, to attain the apprehension of unity. Now then, let us suppose that you have come to the Master, and that he has declared to you the way of this attainment. What hindereth you? Alas, there is yet much freedom afar off. Understand clearly this, that if you are sure of your will and sure of your means, then any thoughts or actions which are contrary to those means are contrary also to that will. If therefore the Master should enjoin upon you a vow of holy obedience, compliance is not surrender of the will, but a fulfillment of it. For see, what hindereth you? It is either from without or from within, or both. It may be easy for the strong-minded seeker to put his heel upon public opinion, or to tear from his heart the objects which he loves in a sense. But there will always remain in him many discordant affections, as also the bond of habit, and these he must conquer. In our holiest book it is written, "Thou hast no right but to do thy will, do that, and no other shall say nay." Write it in your heart and in your brain, for this is the key of the whole matter. Hear nature herself be your preacher, for in every phenomenon of force and motion doth she proclaim aloud this truth. Even in so small a matter as driving a nail into a plank, hear this same sermon. Your nail must be hard, smooth, fine-pointed, or it will not move swiftly in the direction willed. Imagine then a nail of tinder wood with 20 points. It is verily no longer a nail. Yet nigh all of mankind are like unto this. They wish a dozen different careers, and the force which might have been sufficient to attain eminence in one is wasted on the others. They are null. Here then, let me make open confession and say this. Though I pledged myself almost in boyhood to the great work, though to my aid came the most puissant forces in the whole universe to hold me to it, though habit itself now constraineth me in the right direction, yet I have not fulfilled my will. I turn aside daily from the appointed task. I waver, I falter, I lag. Let then this be of great comfort to you all, that if I be so imperfect, and for very shame I have not emphasized that imperfection, I bet there's more in there. If I, the chosen one, still fail, then how easy for yourselves to surpass me. Or should you only equal me, then even so how great the attainment should be yours. Be of good cheer, therefore, since both my failure and my success are arguments of courage for yourselves. Search yourselves cunningly, I pray you, analyzing your inmost thoughts. And first you shall discard all those gross, obvious hindrances to your will, idleness, foolishness, friendships, wastes, employments, or enjoyments. I will not enumerate the conspirators against the welfare of your state. Next, find the minimum of daily time which is in good sooth necessary for your natural life. The rest you shall devote to the true means of your attainment. And even these necessary hours you shall consecrate to the great work, saying consciously always, while at these tasks, that you perform them only in order to preserve your body and mind in health for the right application to that sublime and single object. An example is what fellow might say before they eat their main meal. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. It's my will to eat and drink, that my body may be fortified thereby, that I might accomplish the great work, or that I may do battle in the cause of freedom according to the book of the law, or something like that. Let's see. It shall not be very long before you come to understand that such a life is the true liberty. You will feel distractions from your will as being what they are. They will no longer appear pleasant and attractive, but as bonds, as shames. And when you have attained this point, know that you have passed the middle gate of this path, for you will have unified your will. Even thus, were a man sitting in a theater where the play wearies him, he would welcome every distraction and find amusement in any accident. But if he were intent upon the play, every such incident would annoy him. His attitude to these is then an indication of his attitude towards the play itself. At first, the habit of attention is hard to acquire. Persevere, and you will have spasms of revulsion periodically. Reason itself will attack you, saying, "How can so strict a bondage be the path of freedom?" Persevere. You have never yet known liberty. When the temptations are overcome, the voice of reason silenced, then will your soul bound forward unhampered upon its chosen course, and for the first time you will experience the extreme delight of being master of yourself, and therefore of the universe. When this is fully attained, when you sit securely in the saddle, then you may enjoy all those distractions which first pleased you and then angered you. Now they will do neither anymore, for they are your slaves, your toys. Until you have reached this point, you are not wholly free. You must kill out desire and kill out fear. The end of all is the power to live according to your own nature, without danger that one part may develop to the detriment of the whole, or concern lest that danger should arise. The sot drinks and is drunken. The coward drinks not and shivers. The wise man, brave and free, drinks and gives glory to the God Most High. This, then, is the law of liberty. You possess all liberty in your own right, but you must buttress right with might. You must win freedom for yourself in many a war. Woe unto the children who sleep in the freedom that their forefathers won for them. There is no law beyond do what thou wilt, but it is only the greatest of the race who have the strength and courage to obey it. O man, behold thyself. With what pains wast thou fashioned? What ages have gone to thy shaping? The history of the planet is woven into the very substance of thy brain. Was all this for naught? Is there no purpose in thee? Wast thou made thus that thou shouldst eat and breed and die? Think it not so. Thou dost incorporate so many elements. Thou art the fruit of so many aeons of labor. Thou art fashioned thus as thou art, and not otherwise, for some colossal end. Nerve thyself. Then seek it, and to do it. Naught can satisfy thee but the fulfillment of thy transcendent will that is hidden within thee. For this, then, up to arms, win thine own freedom for thyself, strike hard. The next little section is of love. But that's where we'll stop on the 4th of July, hopefully with a little liberty. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.